Just like I said, August of 1940, before the war started, and it was a good way to get around and see some of the world. So at that time, I had taken, had just finished a course, 6 months of photography at UC.
Oh, that's funny.
I thought, well, maybe I can get in as an aerial photographer or something. I had no idea what the hell it was, but I thought, well, maybe I can get in. And of course, you go down and they had a recruiter. I told him about, anyway, like I said, I was this fellow from, and anyway, he said, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good thing. And of course, I got all through boot camp and get done and say, here's your rifle, here's your here's your camera. He said, look right down the barrel here. Well, that was the end of my. Didn't get to do any camera work anyway. We went into New Zealand when we left the States. And we were supposed to have some maneuvers where we were kind of scattered around everywhere, and they were going to try to get everybody together and have maneuvers, get ready, go in and attack on Guadalcanal. Of course, the 2nd Division had gone into Tarawa, and well, they'd also, some of the 2nd Division had come in to relieve the 1st Division up at Guadalcanal, along with an army group after we had more or less taken the island. But they had still fighting going on. And like I said, our 1st Marine Division was pretty well depleted with the malaria and other fighting stuff, but injuries and stuff. And another place I think I forgot to mention, we went when we went into New Guinea, our area that we set up in was a flat area. Must have been, I don't remember the ocean being that close, but it must have been pretty close because it was a long flat area and outside the jungle. But there was one area there looked like it had been no trees. Well, there was maybe a couple of little short trees, 10 feet tall, just scattered, and then there was high weeds in there. And we got out there. We're going to play ball or something and tossing around. And the guy said, oh, here's a dead Australian soldier. And another guy says, over here, well, here's a dead Japanese soldier. And it's about as far as from here across over there to the kitchen. They apparently had shot each other in the tall weeds, and nobody found them. Now, this would have been over a year before, and there wasn't nothing there but, they had all uniforms, rifle right there with them, beside them, and nobody had found them. And so here they were laying there. And there again, some you guys, you just can't believe what people will do. The guys, first thing they did was got in and tore the guy's billfold out and tore all the, see if they had any money in there, and then throwing all his information away that had in there about who he might have been. How, I just don't understand how people be so insensitive. You just can't make your mind take that in. That people said, well, this guy is dead. What the hell? He's nothing to anybody. Well, he's got a family someplace. He's got people wanting to know. And it always bothered me that I did get a hold of somebody and tell them, oh, where are we here? We're about to get through the war. I didn't go back. I didn't tell you. I didn't say about when I was in New Zealand, how I met this young lady And it was in 2 dates I knew that she was the girl that I wanted. And she knew first, well, the one lady I had never knew how to go out and just pick up. I never, how the hell these guys go out? Next thing you know, they got a girl. Where do you, but I didn't ever have to have a girl because they'd always say, come, hey, Tracy, we need another man here. So I made that way. Even we had before, here we go back again. So I had a couple of dates with this girl, which was fine. But then her boyfriend's come home from the New Zealand Army, and so she asked one of her friends to come. They worked at the post office, and if somebody would take her place, and this girl said she'd take her place. Well, so we went out this one night, and I thought, oh, this is good. And then a couple of weeks later, it happened again, and I thought, oh God, I don't know what happened after that, but I broke off with the other girl, and I said, well, if I'm going to have to be filled in, and that's because by this time I already knew I was in love with this young lady. And we went together for 7 months, and we had decided that we would get married after the war. Well, when I rejoined my outfit and found out how many of them were missing and how many had lost their legs, how many were blind, and all the things that had happened to them while they were fighting, and I was getting ready to go into another battle, I just told her to just forget about me. I said that this is too much to expect to have me come home, maybe not come home. We were in the second wave to go into New Britain. The first wave had already landed. We come up over this old sand dune, and here was a great big, just a muddle of water where it had trees knocked down from the bombing and shelling and stuff, and we tried to maneuver. I was in the 81 mortar platoon, and we had two-wheel carts that we had to work across this stuff. Well, that's what the mortars was on, and then we got across the stuff, and there's a big hill that goes almost straight up. We almost had to crawl up that hill to get the stuff up the top. Well, in the meantime, we went across the area where the rest of the division rifle companies were setting up there. Well, that's one place we come down, and I come across this walk. There was a big ravine, but there was a wooden walk across it. As we walked across this flat, it's a bridge, you might as well say, and I could hear off in the distance what sounded to me like a Japanese talking. Of course, we were on a move, and I guess nobody else heard it, or else they didn't pay any attention to it. The next day, or later that day, same day, they had a fire. The Japanese had come up out of that area. Now, I don't know if it was the same month, but there was a group, battalion or some, come in and attacked our rear end. But we overcame them, and they drove them off. I've always wondered whether I really heard Japanese as we went across there, why they would be making that much noise. I was in a 81 mortar platoon, so we're not with the front group. Now they have little 60 mortars that travel with the rifle company itself, but at this time I was in the 81, and our shells could travel, I don't know exactly how far, over 1,000 yards. And so we were not right with the rifle company. We were always behind so we could lob. the rifle companies were in fighting, and we were unloading our equipment and stuff and piling it up, ammunition and other equipment, food and stuff, so we could move in. And in the meantime, I thought, well, I getting a little hungry or thirsty, and my pack, I had left my pack on the cart some distance, I guess 50 yards or something away, and I thought I'd go over there and get me some water or something to eat. And as I got, just after I started back, they lobbed 2 shells into this area where I had just left. Now, there was, I think, 7 injured and 2 or 3 killed, and I just happened to be far enough away that I just got a little splinter of one of these shells in my arm. But I don't know what, but they were right where I had left us, where they dropped them shells. And so you just never know what kind of idea gets in your head, who puts it there to move, get up and move. But anyway, like I said, we got in there, and then we followed the Japanese up across the island, and doing different places. They would stop and fire at us a little bit, and we'd start firing back. And they had this one place right here. Well, I don't know if that shows it here someplace. They had this island was, like I said, looked like, if you could call it a farm or whatever they called it, where they had these coconut trees and cacao trees planted together. But this is what some of the area looked like after we got done shelling, and then it started to raining. Now, I guess I hadn't told you about it. Our jungle hammocks we had. That's before we got up this far. Let me think a minute.
Yeah, I heard it rained really bad on New
Oh, that's what I was. Something else they told us. Somebody asked me when we got back. I said something about being in a hurricane. I said, hell, I don't know. It seemed like it had been in a hurricane. I said, it seemed like it was raining most of the time I was there. But anyway, they told us that part of the hurry, we had been in the tail end of a hurricane with everything. But anyway, we had these ponchos. Not ponchos. We had ponchos too. But we had jungle hammocks. That's what they looked like. I don't know whether you can see, they had a rubberized top, wide out, opened up pretty wide, and mosquito netting sides on them, and they had zippers, and in the had a kind of, well, they had a double bottom in it, and we found out we could take a knife and make a slit in there and hide our extra, didn't hide them, but we put our dry clothes. We had 2 put our dry clothes, other uniform in there, and keep it dry while we were out getting soaked and wet. And anyway, yes, we were up there on this hillside while the outfit was, the Japanese had withdrew, but they had an airplane come over every night, and they would drop shells on, mostly it seemed like, I forget how long we were there, for a week or so, or maybe or longer than that, on the airfield. That's where we went in there in the first place, because there was the Japanese airfield, and we wanted to get them out of their airfield. And we had driven, like I said, they had withdrew, but we had stationed some troops down there, and I guess they had some airplanes in there. And this airplane or two would go over every night in the middle of the night, and of course you had spotters, or you could hear them coming, and they would fire off. I guess is some kind of whether we would fire off one of our guns up there on the hill to notice everybody to take shelter and get. So we would get out of our hammocks and run and get in our foxhole. Well, do this every night, and then the shells was going, oh, it seemed like several miles away from us. So this one, I just thought, oh, the hell with it. Stay right here. They're going to be on the other side there anyway. Well, I say laid there in my hammock, and it was the next thing I know, hear this shell coming down. Well, that ain't going the same place yet. It was it's heading right for you. You better get out there. Well, I got in a hurry. I just had my zipper on it. I pulled and tugged. I couldn't get the thing loose, so I just pulled myself up in as small ball as I could. Lucky we were on a hillside, about like that, I guess. And the bomb went down on the other side of the hill.
You could hear the shell coming?
Oh, yeah, sure. They make a terrible wheezy noise when they're coming. Them spinners, what do I want to call tail fins and everything, they make a heck of a noise when they're falling down through the air. And you can tell how close they are. So yeah, when they got so close, I thought, this ain't going to, it's coming down here. Well, I tell you, after that, boy, that first one, the gun would go off on the hill to let us know they were coming. I was out of that bunk in a hurry. But like I said, we were there for some time. Finally, we loaded us all up and hauled us out. And we come back. That's when we came back to. Oh God! Oh, we were looking for a place to put us for R&R, and they finally flew over this little island out there. Was in the mix in the group that they had decided that was looked so pretty from the airplane. Well, they let us out there. It was the worst place. There wasn't even a native village on the place. Just all coconut trees and terrible place. And wasn't even a good beach really for us to even to go in, get to the water. And, but anyway, of course, and then they got to plowing around, moving stuff in the mud with just like wet cement. They had run up and down the road with them big trucks, and then that's the way we had to go out in the margin. We had do our hiking and keeping ourselves in shape and move maneuvers and moving along these roads. It was like walking in cement. Anyway, while we were there, I think we were there a couple of months. Anyway, the started getting in these guys, like not Frank Sinatra, but Bob Hope and his troupe came in, and a fellow named Little Jack Little that played the piano, and I had three or four others, and I can't remember all of them, but these two names I remember. Bob Hope troupe coming in, and you know, we were like I said, we had come in there. This is supposed to be R&R, and it was the worst damn place in the world to bring somebody to R&R. When had rats running all through the place with all these dead, rotten coconuts have been laying there for years, and full of mosquitoes. Of course, we had our tents up, and they had mosquito siding, and not for the tents, but for our bunks. I had mosquito webs for the siding, which is helpful, but the rats is running all over the tents and everything. That to most of us, we just had come off of 3 months or something like that up in New Britain, and they come into a place like this for R&R, where I hate to say this, well, I've started, I don't know how many, half a dozen or so guys who commit suicide after they come back, and Well, it was that I never thought about doing that, but I don't. Different people have different. But anyway, oh, it's another thing. We went. We got on to. This is. New Britain. Yeah. We moving the Jap back. Well, I was telling you that one place we went, we had gone on out of patrol to tell the natives that were around there that we were not being aggressive toward them. The Japanese had treated the natives terrible, but to try to tell them they could come back to their villages and stuff, because we were not going to be bothering them. And anyway, this is one of the villages we went into. We going out on this patrol with Chesty Puller. You heard of him?
Absolutely.
Well, we were not we were not in his regiment, but he borrowed us to carry the ammunition and stuff for his to where we were going to make another river run across, and they decided that we would advance to that river, and then that would be our stopping place, and leave whatever Japanese were over there. As long as they were not, we would set up a defensive position. That would be our stop. And then the Navy and the Japanese were going up there to Rabaul, so they just let them go on up and said, let the airplanes and the Navy take care of them up there. So anyway, Chesty had this group, and he had another. Well, we went out on this patrol here. We went out to carry the ammunition and supplies for them, and then. But this native village didn't have it. The natives, all, like I said, all been run off to get away from the Japanese, and that's why we had set runners out and tell them it would be okay for them to come back. But anyway, here on the edge of this village, there was a mound, fairly good size, and of course there's always somebody got to figure out, well, what's this? Well, guys got in there with their shovels and started digging. Here they found 2 dead Japanese had been buried in there together. And then somebody gets the idea, well, maybe they've got some gold teeth. So then they're digging them guys, digging this part of that, so they can check in their mouths. These are Marines that you're running around with, and see if they got any gold teeth, cutting them open. So and you think, well, God, how kind of guys are you? We got to this. This is on New Britain, and like I said, we had been chasing the Japanese, but they found out that the Japanese had made a position here, and we got to this little, well, it wasn't no village there, but they had a church there, and the overseer's house, nicely built house there, and a nice open yard. Somebody had, well, of course, not since the war was on, but they had, right beside the overseer's house, I don't know who found it first, was an orange tree full of oranges. I don't know how ripe they were, but they guys found out there was oranges. Boy, it looked like a flock of birds. There's so many guys that's under the tree. In fact, the overseer I was telling you about has been traveling along with us, was telling him, get out of the tree, you'll break it down. It about as much good as shooting at a fly. But it wasn't left on that tree. About 15 minutes, it was nothing left but leaves on the tree. But I didn't get it yet. But they got there before. Like I said, I was in the mortar platoon and the rifle company. It was already up there. Well, anyway, about the time we had hardly got in there until the Japanese started shelling us. So we had to get under cover a little bit and start firing back at them. Anyway, we had a bunch of them. They had brought some of the natives in and made several families of them. And they were, as we left the island, we put on a little sing-along for them and done our little singing, dancing, and different things. And then they put a sing-along on for us, and a native style with their drums and bongos and stuff. So to send us off, I thought that was very nice. September 8th, we went to Peleliu. And and we had first wave went into Peleliu, and I think we were in the second wave. Well, of course, we could see on the way. We think there's nothing left of that island when they got done bombing and shelling the place before you. You tell yourself there can't be anything left. Well, boy, the time we got the first wave, got halfway, got close enough, everything hell let loose. I don't know. Of course, they were in caves and all that kind of stuff, and they had started shelling the beaches, and these Amtraks were getting knocked out as they went in, and they finally our turn was to go in, and we got in and got on the beach and started on the loading. You had to go over to the side. Either the old-fashioned didn't have the tailgate on them. You had to go over the side. Of course, they weren't. Oh, the side might have been as high as that. That was no big problem. But they was, I guess about 15 or so of us in, maybe more, crowded into it and things jumping out. And you got on the beach where you had jumped, where you got a full pack on with extra ammunition and all that stuff. And your gun. And I jumped out, landed on the beach. And I went to get up, and I took one step and fell on my face. I took another step. I fell on my face 3 times. What the hell, my leg? What's the matter with my leg? Well, I was a squad leader at that time, sergeant. And finally, I was but in the meantime, I had made sergeant and been promoted to sergeant and been moved to GCA. Had been in each company. Each company was a machine gun and mortar platoon, and then they made sergeant. Why they had to move? They moved sergeant. You don't stay in the same company, being with the same guys. If you make sergeant at that time, you got to get away. Too many buddies, I guess. Got off there and found out I had a squad pick me up. Found out I had broken my left leg, and they dragged me to a foxhole, and they took off. Yep. And while I was laying there on the beach, the Japanese, I don't know whether they were shooting at me or not, but the shells were going over me about I would say maybe as high as the ceiling here. And I was yelling at these guys sitting around there to get me out of the damn. I say they're aiming at me here. Well, I guess luckily I was up against a kind of a cliff or area where they couldn't lower their elevation anymore. But they finally got enough of us in this duck to take us back out to the hospital ship. And they had the shells were following us. One of us was close enough to splash the water in on us that they didn't ever hit. I think to this day, how how does God or who decides how long you're going to live, or why you live, why somebody else doesn't live? Because every guy's getting shot right and left, boats getting hit, and the Japanese shooting at us, but just couldn't get the right range or something, because them shells were following us out as far as they could shoot at us before we got out to the first. Well, it wasn't the first ship we were on was not a hospital. I guess a first aid ship. They have a name for it, but they went in there. They were taking the wounded and doing triage or whatever you call it, first aid, bandaging the wounds. And well, in my case, they just put a splint on put a cast on my leg, and then they sent me over to a hospital ship. During the night, I don't, like I said, I can't remember just how long, but it seemed like it was a couple of days. But I take that back. It did seem like it took us near as long to get from where I broke my leg back to the hospital as more or less where the place where the hospital was more or less right where we had been in waiting to go up to New Britain. And the first to New Britain, we'd already been to New Britain. We'd been to Peleliu. Peleliu is where we went in, where I got my leg broke. Now, I don't know how I was telling this, but that's where we went in. The island was named Peleliu. And anyway, during the night, all of a sudden the ship went crunch, and everything just, you knew you hit something or something. My first thought was we'd been torpedoed. And the ship, like I said, it just come to a complete stop. And of course, I thinking, hell, if I'm sitting in, I had tried to get up out of the bunk a couple of times. I wanted to stand up and just to move my leg. I mean, the bunk was fine, but I just wanted to get up. But I tried several times to get myself out of that bunk just to stand up, and I couldn't do it. But I hit this crunch, and I thought, hell, we've been torpedoed. I ain't going down with this damn ship. I got myself, I don't know how, I got myself out of that bunk, and I'm standing up there ready to get the hell out. Some way, if I had to crawl up the steps or whatever I had to get, I was going to get out of there. But the next thing I heard, well, we had a nurse in the quarters there, but like I said, we were about 3 bunks high, I think. But I was able to get out and stand there waiting to see what was going to happen next. And the next thing I heard was apparently they had turned on the spotlight on the ship, throwing it all around the area. We're up in Japanese territory yet. I don't know just what part of the ocean we were, but anyway, the next thing I remember hearing was, turn out the GD light, or we'll blow it out. And it was a rescue ship, rescue, what? Like would be a wrecker, or a ship, what I'm trying to say.
Like a tugboat?
Huh?
Like a tugboat?
Tugboat, yeah. Tugboat to get us, pull us off the reef. And also had a destroyer or some kind of a other ship, regular Navy warship along with them to help them. But anyway, they finally got us off the reef, and then we went on down to the hospital area, which was up here in the middle of, well, it was close to Guadalcanal out there.
So,
Go ahead.
so you were like 24, 25 on your way to Peleliu, and you're a sergeant. I'm backing up a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
And I just want to know because you said all hell broke loose, and from what I know of Peleliu, it was a really bad invasion.
Yes, nobody gives you credit. There was a nice program that has been on. It's TV that shows what happened. All the glory goes to Iwo Jima,
Yeah.
but we lost more men on Peleliu than they did on Iwo Jima.
What was it? Because I'm thinking, me and Craig are about the age that you were on your way to Peleliu, and I just can't imagine going into that. What did you feel like?
Well, you've been through a couple of them. You've been trained. That's what I mean. I think about that even today. Going in, you had all this training. I didn't, and like I said, maybe more than some of the. I've been in there 2 years already, and more than some recruit has just been. We've been out maneuvers and up and down to Cuba and everything, doing maneuvers, and I even to myself think, hell, I just remember, well, that's what we trained for. That's what we trained all this, and I just didn't have any other feeling than going in than, yeah, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And that's strange. I keep thinking, well, why wasn't I scared? Well, you've already been in one battle, and I think, well, that's the way it happens, and that's you just hope that you come out. But that's what bothered me. Was I got there on the beach with a broken leg, and beach was getting shelled as bad as the inland was, and then they put me up there in that duck, and it was shells going right over the top of me. That scared me more than when I was going in. I knew you were going to get shot, but I want to be moving when I can do something for myself. But when you feel like you're up on the target board here in one of these amusement parks with somebody just suddenly you're just laying there and here's these shells going over the top of you. That's just, but anyway, when it got time to get down to brass tacks, I was second on the list to get discharged. I had been wounded twice and had malaria and had my time in, so I had enough points. I got out.